Hello, Dr. Price. Today I will be expanding a little bit on my current issues paper. In the paper, I started off kind of talking about security and hospitality as a whole, and about midway through that, I segue into actually talking about hurricane preparedness in the hospitality industry. This is something that has hit home for me personally. I had family that was greatly affected by Hurricane Katrina. They're from Slidell, Louisiana, which is only about 15 minutes north of New Orleans. And I think I was about 14 at the time, just starting the ninth grade when it happened. So it was definitely something that I kind of got a firsthand experience of. Even though living here in Georgia, we weren't affected, exactly affected by the hurricane. Just the amount of people that came here from the Louisiana area, it was easy to see. It was a lot of hotels that were filled up in the city, and you could tell that that hurricane not only affected Louisiana in their industry, but also all the areas surrounded. I think the biggest thing with hurricane preparedness is that whatever organization, whatever brand that you're with, if you're in one of these areas that can be affected by hurricanes, or in one of the areas that people may come and take refuge in, you have to make sure that you're working on your plan. I guess you say just your overall plan throughout the year. You don't want to just work on it during hurricane season, because you're just leaving out time for yourself to make sure that the plan that you come up with is the best plan that works with, your employees. All of them understand it. All of the management understands what needs to be done in case of that emergency happening, and just making sure that you're always on top of it. I'm sure many of us have heard the saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And that is a key to something as drastic as a hurricane. To just think, for instance, if you don't have a solid plan in place, or if you haven't really been reviewing the plan, when it happens, you could really lose credibility with your brand, because there have been some instances where people are still at these places waiting out the hurricane because it's that dangerous. So not only is it just staff there, but there are actual customers that are still there, and you must have a plan in place to deal with that, because of course, naturally, these people are going to be upset. They're going to be a little frantic. They don't know how their family's doing. They don't know how their property's doing. They don't know how they're going to get back home. So you have to have a plan in place to make sure that it's not total chaos. Now, in my piece, I referenced Miss Erica Prafter. She did a excellent two articles on not only Hurricane Harvey, but just some giving us some tips for general managers to go by when coming up with their plan. It was a list of 9, and they go as follows. First, you want to hunker down. You want to always have backup communication. Set your priorities. As leaders, you want to lead from the front and motivate your staff. You never want to underestimate the power of nature. Think simple. Prepare to switch things up. Take care of your own, and always assume the worst. Now, I just found that this list was very important in just giving us a general understanding of what we should do when we're faced with something like a hurricane. Now, for me, as I put in the piece, I believe that just sometimes you got to think simple when making plans. You never want to overthink things, or just make things kind of more than what they are. And I know when we're talking about hurricanes, I mean, it is a pretty big deal, and you can't really make it too much of anything. But in a certain instance, you want to think simple. You want to think simple. By thinking simple, it's easy to articulate to your subordinates so they can fully understand it, understand their role, understand what they're supposed to do when that time comes. Now, another thing that I feel that hospitality brands should really take into consideration with their hurricane preparedness, be prepared to switch things up. You never want to just come up with one plan and that plan be so rigid that you're not able to be flexible and change however things need to be changed, because things are not always going to go exactly how you thought, and sometimes you got to have that ability to switch things up to make things the best way that they can for that possible moment. Now, throughout my research with this topic, it like I said, it really hit home for me. As I said, dealing with this, not necessarily from a standpoint of where my home was destroyed, but where my family had to come and basically live here in Columbus for weeks on end before they was actually able to go back to Louisiana. So just being someone who lived through this and understanding the ramifications of it, I believe that all hospitality brands in areas that can be affected by hurricanes and those areas where people may take refuge, they need to always be up on their plan. Just think of this past year's hurricane season. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But as long as those brands have a plan and follow through on their plan, I'm more than sure that they were able to get through that. And I'm sure now they're definitely on the road to recovering. Well, those that were greatly destroyed during the hurricanes this season. But once again, I would like to thank you, Dr. Price, for all that you've done this semester. And I hope that this presentation was very informative. Thank you.